Hello there. This is the introduction to the discipline of encounters with history. I'll be doing this like that. I'll be recording the lectures for the discipline, and your guys are going to be watching it before we actually meet online. My name is Arkady Alexeyevich Yeramin, and I'm happy to have probably, very soon meet you. So, um, first things first, we have to, today because there's nothing that you guys have prepared, and we're going to meet very soon. I'm going to give you basic information about the class, some things to discuss when we actually meet, and also some things to discuss next week. But most importantly, today we're going to talk about how this class is going to be held. Um, the structure of the class is pretty simple. As any of my other classes that I've been holding offline, this is going to be very similar. With the only thing, significant difference of it being taught asynchronously online. That means that the lecture part of the class, of each class that I've used to have, as some of you might know, I used to have classes divided into two parts. One would be the lecture, another one would be discussion. So the lectures are going to be done like this. They're going to be pre-recorded and you're going to watch them in your own spare time. That will allow you guys to easily be able to watch that or go back to the lecture or rewind to a certain moment that you didn't understand and want to listen to again at your own convenience. The way you like it. You can, put it on 125 and it's going to be much faster, or vice versa. You can put it on 0.85 speed, and then I'm going to speak slower. Some of you might actually find it very important and useful because previously people have told me I speak too fast. So with this, I mean, there's great convenience because you don't spend 2 hours and 30 minutes online with me. You only spend hour and about 10 minutes of pure discussion, right? And that is great because again, for you it's an evening class. For me, it's an even you know later class because where I'm going to be staying. The time is going to be, you have to add 2 hours, and if it's 8 for you, it's going to be 10 for me. So it's an evening class. We don't want to have it longer than it needs to be, and this is why it's going to be asynchronous like that. There's some rules I have to break down to you guys before we even start this class. There are some explanations I need to do. Well, first things first. We'll dive into the class policies, and the first one will be on time. It's important since you guys are going to do it online. So no having to wake up to get on that bus, that goes to Webster, or, only once an hour or something like that. No need to stand in a crowded subway. No need to get into the car and stay, sit in those horrible traffic jams. No, all you need to do is connect to the class. It's easy. There's no problem whether you do it from your bedroom or bathroom or whatever. I don't really care, right? As long as you guys are fully dressed, of course. There is that. Sometimes we need to outline that as well. But wherever you want to do it, do it. It's great. It's very convenient, and you're not. I don't require you guys to sit in front of a table or anything like that. The way you want to do it is perfectly fine with me. Just make sure you are on time. Full attendance will then be given to those who are on time. So if the class starts at 9, then you need to be there at 9. So you might want to start joining about 10 minutes before in case you have some technical difficulties. If you're later than 9, anything up to 15 minutes, that's late. Some of the points will go missing, but it's a very small amount of points, so it's not the end of the world, but I have to make a difference between those who are already on time and waiting and those who are late. Those who are later than 15 minutes, unfortunately, guys, you will be marked as non-attenders, and that will be 0% for attendance points for this class. You can still participate, of course, there's no problem in that, but there's no attendance points coming your way for this class specifically. Participate in in-class discussions. Guys, that's important. In-class discussions are literally the only thing we're going to be doing face-to-face, live, online, right? So that is important. That's one of the most important things about this class. It's about discussing things. It's about this, discussion of facts and sharing the views, right? That's very important for us because we are currently in the profession that specifically cherishes people who are able to publicly speak. If you can publicly speak, if you cannot communicate professionally with your peers or supervisors or anybody, really, um, in this profession, you will not be able to make a living, right? So you're not in physics, you're not computer science, you're not in biology, you are in humanities and social sciences. That public speaking is a prerequisite here. So make sure that you participate. If you don't participate, whatever the reason is, you don't get the points. You cannot substitute it by essays or chat or anything. You cannot stay later, right? Because we're going to have a certain time. As soon as we're done, you cannot stay and say, Professor, can you stay for an extra 30 minutes with me and I'll tell you everything I know without the people, right? No, that doesn't work. So here we go. Next slide then. Class policy continues with do not disturb, right? It's quite clear it is more adequate for an offline class, but also for an online class. If you want to do something on the side, make sure your microphone is muted and there's no video that would be, messing the whole class up, right? So, if you want to do something on the side, do it privately. I don't care. Nobody cares as long as you don't really disrupt the flow of the class. It's again, you're grown-up people. I don't have to explain to you that you should pay attention to the class and you should participate, right? That's if you don't, that's up to you. That's your own problem because it will affect your grade, of course. So let's be respectful and professional as well. It's very important because although it's not a very provocative class like the political theory class, we still need to respect the opinions of one another. Even if you know that another person is wrong, don't try to overshout that opponent. Don't try to prove your point, right? Don't try to insult anybody. Wait for your turn with your hand up in Teams, and I'll give you a chance to talk, right? And everything will be great because you will have your chance to express yourself and explain everything that needs to be explained. So no free points by the end of the semester is another great thing that you guys need to understand. In all of my classes, I pride myself that I give you the grades that you really deserve. You work for it, you deserve it. This is how you know what you're worth in in the academic sphere. So the grades that you earn is 100 points, and they account for all the assignments that are there in the course. So you do them all, and you do them all perfectly fine, or the way you're planning to do it, you'll get 100. If you fail to do something, or you don't get as many points, or you make some mistakes on the final or midterm, you lose some of those points, right? And you have to work during the semester to get a mark that you want. You cannot just have it by the mere fact that you have all A's and you have to be on the dean's list. No excuses like that. If you want to really piss your professor off, you can try those, but let me tell you, I've heard them all. None of them work. They only irritate the professor. So at the beginning of the course, you will have a mark of 0 in all of the assignments because you haven't done anything yet. It's normal. It is made so your tracking of your progress will be so much easier and more representative than otherwise, because sometimes professors don't do this. They don't put zeros under the ungraded assignments, and the overall grading canvas would be misleading. Some people would be thinking they have 80 or 100, and then when the professor punches in the grades, all of a sudden turns out he has been failing this class the entire semester. But he doesn't know that because he's been seeing this, 80%, awesome, right? I'm doing fine. So yeah, don't drop out of the class if you see that 0. It's okay. It's normal. It is vital to participate in the role-playing simulation, this one says, but since we are going to be doing this online, role-playing is probably out of the question. However, what we can do, and luckily this year I have some new tools that I'm going to be using, we're going to return to normal written assignments. Luckily, before I have abandoned that idea for good because AI was everywhere and there was no great, no way for me to properly confirm it's AI. So even with the systems that would in Canvas and Turnitin, it would say, oh, this is generated by AI, but there's no confirmation of that. Right now, I have software that does 100% confirm, and it practically confirms whether it is AI. Right? So this is why we're going to try research paper this time around. And that's going to be our activity, that one extra activity for this 20 points. So yeah, The topics will be discussed later, and but typically the great idea is that with every class that we have, with every topic that we unravel, you will see possible topics for your essay as well. And if you need some extra help, you can always discuss it with me additionally. If you miss a class, you lose points. It's quite obvious, right? Only those with legitimate paperwork from a doctor will be excused, and that would be only replenishing your attendance because I cannot replenish participation. That never happened, right? So your medical certificate will also need to be verified by Dr. Zafar. Or alternatively, if it's like, for example, non-medical or there's any problem with Dr. Zafar, you could go to a registrar's office and have them clear you for that certain class. Let's say you're, God forbid, somebody passed away or something horrible happened. Typically, again, university helps students with that and gives students a leeway on those classes that they've missed because of some horrible events that might have happened. So yes, without those emails, I will not be excusing you guys, and that's only counting attendance. Now, every lecture that we're going to have will have these additional videos. I am not going to show you that here on screen because there's no point for me to demonstrate it like that, record it. Simply no. There's no benefit to that. It's stupid, right? So what we are going to do is, since the PowerPoints are in the system, whenever we're done with the lecture, there's this, let's watch something, or well, we have time. You go onto those and you watch them, right? So for this one particularly, I don't want you to watch all four of them unless you absolutely want to. That's within your right. The one that I would definitely tell you to watch would be Why History Matters by Patrick Allett. Professor Allett is incredible. A professor who explains why we need to study history, because a lot of people might say history is redundant. There's no point in studying history. It's the events that have already passed. They don't exist anymore. Those, countries or, entire countries, peoples, cultures, they're already gone. Why bother discussing them? And this is exactly why. He's in this video, he specifically unravels what is the idea of history as a discipline and why studying past events is so important. And again, I'd probably be, able to do that as well, since I have a PhD in history. But I would really want you guys to watch this video with his arguments. Another one is historical myth. And this one is specifically, it's a little longer, and it's about the historical myths that have been created either intentionally or unintentionally as a result of honest mistake. Because studying history is, so this is specifically something that we need to learn. Why those mistakes occur, how did it come to certain historical myths to appear, and this is specifically why we study history also. It's a continuation of the first video because it does explain you what could be the possible consequences of learning the history wrong or disregarding the importance of history. Finally, that last one by Steve Mason is incredibly important as well. So Steve Mason is, I think, a Chicago University professor, and he's done this speech on TED Talks. Fact of the matter is that he starts, as a historian, he starts with a very controversial notion that history doesn't teach us any lessons. Because again, most of you would probably cite George Santana with his history, teaches us lessons. Those who don't, are not able to learn them are doomed to repeat it, right? Some of you will be reciting that without even knowing who said that, who wrote that, when, and why. Regardless, he challenges that and says that, what, it doesn't teach you any lessons because history doesn't provide you. It's an analysis of historic events that should stay impartial. And when we say that it teaches us lessons means that we assume that there is some hidden morality in this, right? Hidden pieces of moral evaluation or certain wisdom, pre-made that we kind of pass on to other generations. Although he says this is not education then, and this is not history then. This is tradition and us indoctrinating other people with tradition. What history is, it doesn't exactly teach you those pre-made things. You can have your own conclusions the way you want it, the way you feel is more, justified. It is a science and a choice of how to interpret things. And this is why history is, not full of pre-made pieces of knowledge that are there for us to unravel. And this is why this one is incredibly important. The reason why I want you guys to watch these videos in the end of each lecture would be also because they very much help you to prepare for those questions that you're going to have for preparation for next week, right? Those questions for the discussion. Some of those might even be containing materials that I want you guys to know because they will be on your midterm or final. So again, it is vital and important to watch them. I'll specifically say which ones are crucial to watch and which ones are specifically just, good to watch but not that important. Like for instance, can indigenous knowledge save the world? It's a little irrelevant to the class. And I simply added it because it is sort of fun, because we are talking about different cultures today, and the encounter, not today, I mean in this class, and the encounters of different cultures and people and nations. It will be interesting to see how an entirely non-Western culture existing today wants to tackle a very global problem. If you want to watch it on your own time, sure. Each one of these is about 10 minutes. So for you, add extra 30 minutes to this entire video, and that would be your lecture. Done by three, well, four if I also include me, great professors. So since this is something that I want you to do before we actually meet, these are the four questions we're going to discuss the very first time we meet online. Of course, you're going to ask me questions about the policies, about the class. We're going to talk about this as well. I'm going to make sure that you guys understand what the class is going to be like, but also this is what we will be talking about. And these are going to be the four easiest questions you will ever have in this class. And this is going to be your easiest participation points for this entire class. Simply because they're all about you, right? It's great for you to prepare with these videos, right? But you don't really, have to, because these are the only questions where you can answer, particularly with your own experience. It doesn't mean that I don't want you guys to listen to those videos or watch those videos. No, those would be, trust me, very incredible, very useful. But at the same time, it is not specifically something that will be required. So the questions are very simple. Why do we have to study history? How's university level history different from high school history classes? Also, what do you think is more important in history? Memorizing dates, studying multiple historic personality, or unraveling connections between events over the course of history? Finally, what is your favorite historic era and why? Something that everyone will be able to answer. And typically, that third question is the one that unravels, the best debate. Everybody wants to talk about their own period of history and explain why his choice is the best one. So, that's always fun to discuss. Because we're going to have a lot of discussions of a variety of different periods in history and different regions. So, we're going to tackle a lot of material on this discipline. Finally, what is more important to study, national or world history, and why? This is the most contemporary, important, and relevant one, especially for Uzbekistan, but also, not just for Uzbekistan, literally for any country out there in the world that has an education system which happens to study history. So these are very easy questions. We're going to discuss them the very first time we meet, but next week, the week after that, we're going to discuss this, because next week you're going to have a proper lecture. And at the end of that lecture, when we're done with that lecture, I'm also going to give you questions for the week after that, okay? So the homework for next week, here you see that at each one of these slides, you're going to have readings, right? This is our book, David and Gilbert. It's in Canvas, and this is the introduction, right? It's only 8 pages. Typically, the readings would be anything from 10 to 20 pages. 5-year-olds can do it. You will be able to do it as well. So do the reading, and then based on that reading, there are 4 questions that we're going to discuss. What is a hybrid culture? Can we assume there are pure cultures out there? Also, what is an example of the most vivid hybrid culture that you know? What has made it so peculiar? Third question would be, do you consider the culture of your people to be hybrid? If yes, what civilizations and cultures have shaped it? Finally, the question number 4. What is better, merger cultures or preserving the purity of your nation and cultural heritage? Your nation and cultural heritage. So So basic questions. Reading is very short, and that's your first like legitimate try to prepare and participate and answer these questions. There's not much to talk anymore. This is effectively the end of this lecture, and well, that's it, right? Today we only discussed policies, right? And we'll continue doing this when we meet online. Other lectures will be somewhat longer, and they'll contain a lot more material. Again, don't forget to watch the videos. They are an important part of this lecture. They're available in the PDFs that are on Canvas. Everything in Canvas is going to be shared in the file section, um, including the syllabus, right? If you want to see what topics we're going to have, they're going to be, everything is in syllabus, and syllabus is in the file section. The book is in the file section as well. For your convenience, it's in PDF format, and it's easily accessible. So again, the arguments that Professor, I don't have a book, lamest argument possible. It's right there. Everything is in the files, right? I don't structure Canvas page specifically, so everything would be there in the files, would be easily accessible for you guys. So if you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to contact me. Simply because, again, it's easier sometimes for me to answer to an email, and I answer quite fast, than for you to wait a whole week to meet me, to ask that question. And God forbid, if you forget about it and you need to wait for another week, no problem. If you need help with discussing the questions for your essay or your research paper, also able to do that. Again, just try to pick a topic on your own. Try to look at the possible topics that we're going to have. And again, for those who want to review the videos and presentations onwards, ahead of class, be my guest. There's no problem with that. Just make sure that you're prepared and you remember the material, before the actual class, with the actual discussion on that topic. That's it. Thank you for your attention. We're saying bye. Both of us are saying bye. And I guess I'll see you that time where we meet together online. Okay. Thanks.